and here we are starting. Okay, so I was planning to change subjects after Shavuot. Then I saw yesterday that Rabbi Ben Chaim is still teaching Pirke Abot, and few people told me how much they love Pirke Abot. So I said, okay, let's do it one more week, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we are trying to find a good subject to change for our second class during the week, besides of Parasha. So I'm going to, I chose few
Mrs. Bitton.
Yes.
Sorry, question. Can we dedicate the class to Shmuel Simcha ben Rivka for Refuah Shlema?
To Refuah Shlema. Yes.
Shmuel Simcha ben Rivka.
May this shiur will be for Refuah Shlema of Shmuel Simcha ben Rivka. I'm dedicating all my shiurim to the Refuah Shlema of my mother-in-law as well. I'm not saying it out loud, but it's for Malka Bat Sofia, Refuah Shlema. And all Cholei Amo Israel, if anybody else wants to give us a name, with pleasure, we dedicate a shiur for the Refuah Shlema. Anyways, for everybody that is ill. So I was saying that I just decided I'm going to go to those Mishnayot that I was planning to teach on the last classes, and I didn't have the time. So for example, I'm going to share the screen so you find also the Pirke Abot. Here, there is a Mishnah on chapter 4, Mishnah Yudchet. That is a very wise advice for us that has to do with here. This is the Mishnah, Mishnah 18, Mishnah Yudchet. It has to do, I would say, with the wisdom, with the timing, with the knowing how to react in certain situations, and knowing that not every timing is good, but some things that are very important to do, you have to be wise enough to know when to do and when is not right to do. So this is the Mishnah in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, and he said, אל תרצה את חברך בשעת כעסו, ואל תנחמנו בשעת שמתו מוטל לפניו, ואל תשאל לו בשעת נדרו, ואל תשתדל לראותו בשעת כלכלתו. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar said, do not try to appease your friend during his hour of anger. So we know how negative is the quality of anger, but Chachamim were very wise, and they understood that when a person is in a moment of anger, he's kind of out of it. He's not in a position of listening, of getting advice, of accepting a rebuke, of understanding that there is almost no chance you can influence a person in the middle of this moment of anger. That's why it says, do not try to appease your friend during his hour of anger. Sometimes Chamim understood, as bad as anger is important to allow the person to take it out, to take those feelings out, and only after that you can talk to the person. Now, in what is relevant to us, I would try to apply it to our close relationships at home, with our children. You know, let's say, two siblings fighting, and one of them is so angry that starts throwing things or kicking or hitting. So of course we're going to remove it from the scene. We're going to try to avoid from him to continue, but that's not a moment to try to tell him, listen, you have to understand, your brother loves you. No, he's not listening, he cannot. You cannot also tell him, from now on, if you act in this way, it's not a moment. We need to allow that anger to pass, to be over, and only after that is the moment the time to have a conversation, to appease him, to explain to him, to give him advice, to teach him about how to act. And I'm sure all of us can relate to this, and all of us have situations with our children, and we have experienced it, how much different is finding the right time whenever I want my message to go through, my teaching moment. Not every moment is a teaching moment. Not every moment is an appeasing moment. Same thing goes with spouses, husband and wife. We know very well that in the moment, or in the middle of the argument or of the anger, it's better sometimes to just let go, to be quiet, and not because I'm going to swallow whatever and I'm going to accept everything, but only because the timing is not good. So it's wise, it's smart to understand that sometimes it's better to just be quiet, just let go, and only after the
right now. You want to watch it here, or you
sorry,
going to that class?
let me mute.
To your
sorry.
room. If you want to sit here.
Okay, sorry about that. So only after this moment of anger has passed, there is room for the conversation, for the explanation, for appeasing, or for bringing the other side, or for explaining. So Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar is telling us, "Al teratzet chavercha bishat kaso." Don't try to make him come down in that moment, in that hour of anger. And he continues. And again, the whole Mishnah, if I had to put a name to it, I would call it timing, or the right timing. Second sentence says, "Ve'al tenachamenu b'sha'a shemeto mutal lefanav." Also, and this is very relevant to our halachot of mourning, we don't do nichum avelim until after the burial. Also, we know that somebody that, God forbid, lost a very close family member, until the burial is over and until the mourning time begins, that person is exempt from mitzvot. Actually, he cannot say mitzvot. He cannot perform mitzvot. He cannot say a bracha. You eat, you don't say a bracha for it. You cannot put filim. You cannot perform mitzvot. Why? Because Chachamim understood, כשמתו מוטל לפניו, when his death still lies before him, his mind cannot process, cannot do anything. That's why you cannot even comfort him. What do you want to comfort him? Oh, he's not so bad, God forbid. What do you want to tell me? He's still here. Chachamim understood the idea of closure, of once he buries his dead, he understands, now I need to look how to continue my life. Now I need to understand that this is over. But while the dead is still in front of him, he does not accept. He's still in this stage of not wanting to accept, of denial. So that's why it's not the moment, it's not the right time for bringing nichumim. Nichumim begin later, after the levaya, when they sit shiv'ah, when there is an absolute, I wouldn't say an absolute acceptance, but an absolute understanding that there is no way to bring him back. I buried that person, I buried my loved one. I really need to find ways of how to continue, of how to see things more towards the future and not so much focused in the past. The next advice that he gives us, Ve'al tish'al lo bish'at nidro, and do not question him at the hour of his vow. So this is a little bit tricky to understand. What does it mean? Sorry, I'm going to turn on the light, sorry. So what does it mean? Al tish'al lo bishat nidro, do not ask questions in the hour of his vow. There is something like this. If a person makes a vow, according to the halacha, you need to do it. Let's say I make a vow that I'm going to give $10,000 of this business that I am about to do because I'm going to get, let's say, the master, I'm going to make $1 million, and I'm happily going to take from this business $10,000 and give him for tzedakah. So imagine my good friend is next to me, and as a good friend is going to open my eyes. No, don't make that promise. How are you sure that you're going to succeed in your business? Don't make the promise. It's not something under your control. Chachamim tell us, Al tish'al lo b'shat nidro. Don't bring those questions in the moment of the vow. Why? Because if I am exposed to all those difficulties and then I'm not able to fulfill my vow, I will not be able to use those arguments later in order to cancel it. So if nobody exposed me to that possibility, and then time came, I need to pay the $10,000, but that business did not happen. I did not win $1 million. Then I can come in front of a bedin and tell them, listen, rabbis, I made the vow on the premises that I thought I'm going to have $1 million, and I thought to give 10,000 from it, but I did not get the $1 million. So if I bring that argument, my vow perhaps will be canceled by the bedin. But if I already had those arguments in front of my eyes, those should have made me not to make the vow. Then there is nothing to cancel that vow. So Chachamim told us it's not a good idea, it's not a good timing. In the moment that a person is making a neder, that you are going to intervene and tell him, don't do it because of this, because in that moment the person is so passionate. He wants to make it, he's not going to listen to you, and instead of you helping him, you are going to create some barriers for him to be able to solve his situations. And the last one, that is really very, very important, ve'al tishtadel lir'oto bish'at kalkalato, nor strive to see him in the hour of his disgrace. This is absolutely the opposite of what happens in today's society with news, with what the media tries to show us. Every time that there is a failure, somebody that makes a mistake and is taken to jail and they come to his house to arrest him or whatever, that is what they show in the news. There is no, in today's society, there is no sensitivity to protect the dignity of a person that is going through a difficult time. Imagine, let's say, in the children's world, somebody did something wrong, a student did something wrong, and then the teacher or the principal discover who he is, and they are going to call him and to. So try to look to the other side. Try not to be there in that moment where your friend is being humiliated, where your friend is failing, where he is not being successful. When you see that he's going through a bad moment, al tishtadel lir'oto. Don't try to see him, the opposite. Try to look the other side, because our Chachamim were so sensitive and so careful for people's dignity, not to humiliate them. And actually, whenever somebody is going through a bad moment, far from trying to see and enjoy the moment, look the other side and avoid being a witness of your friend's failure, disgrace. So I'm going to repeat the 4 ideas that Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar gave us. Do not try to appease your friend in the middle of his anger. You do not try to have a conversation. Do not try to advise him. Do not try to make from that moment a teaching moment, because when he's angry, there is no many chances that he's going to listen to you. Do not comfort him in the hour that his dead is still lying before him. Wait, that's not the right timing. Let him bury him. Let him understand that there is no way of bringing him back. And then the moment of tanchumim, of bringing words of comfort begin. Al tish'al lo b'shat nidro. Do not question the details of his neder, of his vow, because at that moment of passion, he will make the vow anyways, and then there is no way for him going backwards if he needs from Chachamim to break that vow. And al tishtadel lir'oto b'shat kalkalato. Not strive to see him in the hour of his disgrace, in order not to embarrass him. Also, Chachamim are teaching us, sometimes even the best of us, unfortunately, the failure of others make us look better. So we can fail and get some pleasure of the disgrace, of the humiliation, of the failure of others. The fact that that person is not better than me now, so I become better. So try to avoid falling into those feelings. And this is the Mishnah. If you have any question or comment, you can absolutely unmute yourself and participate with us in whatever you have to say. Any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions. We are going to continue. And actually I'm going to move to 2 Mishnayot of chapter 5. These 2 Mishnayot are very known, very common. We're going to try to analyze them, and they have something in common. So first I'm going to read the 2 of them. No, you know what, let's go one by one. So the first one is about love. כל אהבה שהיא תלויה בדבר, בטל דבר בטלה אהבה, ושאינה תלויה בדבר, אינה בטלה לעולם. איזו אהבה התלויה בדבר? זו אהבת אמנון ותמר, ושאינה תלויה בדבר, זו אהבת דוד ויונתן. All love that depends on a something, when that thing ceases, the love ceases. And all love that does not depend on anything will never cease. Now the Mishnah is giving us an example. What is an example of love that depended on something? That was the love of Amnon for Tamar. And what is an example of love that did not depend on anything? Such was the love of David and Jonathan. So the definition of what is love, it's difficult because people really make mistakes on understanding what real love is. If not, we would not see so much failure in relationship, in marriage, so many mistakes on people that thought that they were in love and they loved that person, and at the end, this is not the feeling that they felt. It's a confusing feeling. We are not so good on understanding what to love really means. Now the Mishnah here is giving us a specific angle that can help us at least to identify certain situations when love is fake, when this love is not, is temporary, is not going to stay because it's depending on external factors. So the Mishnah says when love is depending on something, when that thing disappears, the love also disappears. And I want to expand on explaining that in this case, the Mishnah refers to external factors, something that is not relating or related to the inner character of the person, to the self. It's something that is outside, that is not going to be always there. And what things can be external? Money, looks, power, youth. So if I love that person because of any of these things or other things, amazing, great, enjoy your love, but you have to know something, that these things can disappear. Sometimes they're not going to be there. And if you are not, and if they are not there, the love is going to disappear. But there are good news. Sometimes love can begin depending on something. Like people can fall in love because of infatuation, because of attraction, because of understanding, oh, this person that has this social status is going to be good for me because I can relate to that. We have the same background. We have the same cultural ideas. We have the same family values. some things are external to you, but you cannot stay only there. So, okay, these two people fell in love because of they're attracted physically. He likes the way she looks. She loves the way he looks. But you need to know that this is not enough for you to sustain that love. Now, okay, there is an attraction. So now it's time for the two of you to work on that love and to make it sustainable, to make it eternal, to make it a love that is going to be there and to stay there, even when those looks are not going to be there, because as we know, and Shlomo HaMelech, Achacham Mikol Adam, told us, Sheker Achen Vehevel Hayofi, the beauty is something, Sheker is lie. What does it mean, lie? That is, today it's here and tomorrow is not here. It's ephemeral. It has to do with youth. It has to do with the circumstances. It has to do with the, it doesn't have to do with some few or deliveries and with things that can change the body of the person. So what do? You need to work on the things that are internal, that are going to make it stay there forever, on character. And another thing that Chachamim always told us, Rabbi Dessler in the book, I forgot the name of his book, Michtav Meliyahu, he teaches us that love is developed throughout netina, by giving. So you love him because of his money, or he loves you because of your looks. Okay, there is an attraction. But what do you do now to develop that love? You can make from it a sustainable love, but you need to do it throughout giving to each other, caring for the other. And when you give, you love. And that love is going to grow. And then even when that beauty is not there, or that money is not there, or that physical strength is not there, or that social status is not there, because God forbid they lost their business or whatever, if you were able to develop the love in a love that is sustainable, that is also, there is reciprocity, I don't know how to say it, it's from everyone to the other. So then that love will sustain itself. And I think this is one of our main problems, issues in the area of dating. I think our youth really need to take a deep look into this Mishnah and understanding they're holding into the wrong things, because you love that girl because all the boys want the most beautiful girl and they care so much about looks. But these are not the things that are going to help them in the future with the challenges in life, with taking care of raising your children, with the handling together situations, achieving goals together. How looks are going to help to any of that? How money is going to help you when you feel lonely? What you need is a real relationship when there has been investment on understanding what are the inner, I would say it in different words, when you were able to develop a love that allowed you to see the good in each other. And the good is not something external, it's not a davar, it's not a thing, it's not an external thing. It's something that has to do with more with the neshama, with the soul. You can see the good on that person. You can see, and you also gave and you invested. And that's how that love becomes a love that is more sustainable and not ephemeral. So what example is the Mishnah bringing us of a love that depended on a thing? But tell davar is a thing. They give us an interesting example. I would say it's an extreme example. The example that the Mishnah brings is the love between Amnon and Tamar. Amnon and Tamar were two half siblings. Both of them were children of David HaMelech. And I wrote to myself, let's see where it is, because I write that. Okay, it's something for you to check who were the mothers of these two kids. What is interesting is that both were children of David HaMelech and of women that were not Jews. David HaMelech, as a king, could marry women from other nations, and the mother of Tamar was even Eshet Yefat Tor. If you remember the mitzvah in the Torah, that when you go out to war and you see a beautiful woman and you fall in love with her, so David HaMelech actually applied the mitzvah with this woman, and after that, he converted her and she became his wife. Okay, but what is important for us to know is that these two, Amnon and Tamar, were half sibling. They were children of the same father, but not of the same mother. And Tamar was very, very beautiful. Now, Amnon fell in love with Tamar, and he was like sick, chole ahava. He was sick thinking about how beautiful she was. Give me a second, because until I don't tell you, I'm not going to. Okay, I have it here. Amnon was the oldest son of David. He was the child of Achinoam HaIsraelit. And Tamar was the sister of Avshalom. They both were children of David HaMelech, and they were the children of Ma'acha Bat Melech Geshur, the daughter of the king of Geshur, that was Eshet Yefat Tor. As I told you, when David HaMelech conquered them, that nation, he fell in love with her. She was a prisoner of war, but she was so beautiful, so he applied all the details of how the Torah says that you can marry a woman like that. Anyways, Amnon was infatuated by Tamar's beauty, and he was obsessed, couldn't think about anything else. And he had a friend, not a good friend, because he gave him a very bad advice. This friend told Avshalom, make yourself sick and ask that your sister Tamar will bring you some pancakes or something to eat, and that you want it only from her. So Amnon follows this advice. He calls Tamar, and she comes. She tries to serve him in a plate, and he says, no, I need you to feed me, to give me to eat, and take everybody else from the room. So they're the two of them alone in a room. From here, David HaMelech also understands and develops the idea of the mitzvah of yichud, of the prohibition of having a man and a woman without any other people, without company, in a room closed, and they can fall and fail. They can fall into sin. So Amnon grabs Tamar by force, and he rapes her. So she begs him, please don't do this. Ask our father, he will allow us to get married. It seems that it was okay to marry. They were only children of the same father, but he doesn't want to hear. He takes her, he rapes her, then she's crying, she's begging him, please marry me, because how will I be able to live with this shame, with this embarrassment? In those times, if a woman was not a virgin, for sure, she would be suspected of having been with a man, and it would be a real shame and humiliation for her. But Amnon tells us the psukim feels at that moment tremendous feelings of hatred for her. He cannot even see her. He sends her away. He calls people to take her out of his room and close the door. And the tragic story continues. At the end, Avshalom, that is Tamar's brother, ends up murdering Amnon. and really a real tragedy. But Chachamim bring us this example because Amnon did not have any real feelings for Tamar. He did not see the beauty on her neshama. He did not see the good on her. He only saw her beauty. It was absolutely a davar, something external, something unrelated to her character. And because it was only the thing, and he was so obsessed on having her, on being with her, once he had her, that's it. That love disappeared, and it actually transformed into hatred. So it's a very extreme example, but it's a very good example. And also I would say, I'm not speaking now to single girls, but I would tell single girls, take this as a very good example of why it's so important to keep yourself and protect yourself until the time of marriage, and how important is the concept of shomer negiah. It's actually protecting our youth. It's protecting human beings from failing and falling into the mistake that because I am attracted, I love the way she looks, I love her. So the fact that you are not allowed to act upon those feelings until you are really willing to get married and to compromise and to fall and to enter into a relationship that has the commitment, you are not going to fail. You need to figure out if there is more than only that davar. And again, it's so important that we teach, whoever here has children, doesn't matter what age, but from young age, to teach them what is real love, that certain things are beautiful, are nice, it's a good feeling, it's good to be attracted, it's important, but it cannot be only that. It has to be a love that is more, that is not depending on external things, but is more depending on the inner qualities, on the real character, on the neshama. And what example give us Chachamim for that? ושאינה תלויה בדבר, זו אהבת דוד ויונתן. David and Jonathan were amazing, good friends. They were friends from the neshama. They really had a very unconditional love. Jonathan was the son of Shaul. Shaul the king was sick, not of love, but of jealousy. He was very jealous of David HaMelech, of David before he was a melech, and he was always going after him. He wanted to kill him. He really made David's life impossible. And Jonathan really loved David as a friend to the point that he's the one to save David and give him the secret code for David to know that Jonathan's father is really intending to kill David. And they cry for each other, and they are always thinking about each other. But this is a love that is unconditional. I care for you. That's why I am willing to sacrifice having you close to me. I care for you. That's why I'm willing to do things that are going to be important for you. So Chachamim give us this example for ahava she'ena tluya badavar, for an unconditional love, that this is the one that will sustain itself. Now, I would say that a real good relationship can have both elements together. What for sure cannot have is only the external factors. It cannot be depending only on that. It has to be unconditional, which means, okay, I love you, or I fell in love with you because of your beauty, because of what you have, but then my love has to evolve in becoming unconditional, because that will assure that when that is not there anymore, not the money, not the looks, not the youth, not the social status, not the house that you own, not, I don't know, all these things that made you so attractive, we worked in our relationship, we made it unconditional. That when those things are not there, I don't care, because I love you, your persona, your character, your personality. And this is what we all need to strive to achieve in our relationships. Now, I move a little bit from this idea, and when I was preparing this Mishnah, I remembered one of the most, everybody knows that the most pure love is the love between, anybody wants to say? What is the purest love?
Mom and children.
Mom and children, parents and children, right? The love between parents and children is the purest, is a love that is unconditional. I love my children no matter what, even when they don't behave. But even in that relationship, we can fail. And Sarah Hannah Radcliffe, in her book, Raising Children to Care, she explains it in a beautiful way. She says that the love or the positive relationship that we express with our children has to be combined from conditional love and unconditional love. And I explain myself. Conditional love, because I need to show my children that I am happy with them, I love them when they behave. And why is that type of love important? Because by me expressing satisfaction, happiness, love, when they behave, I will cause that behavior to repeat itself. So let's say I want my children to pick up their plate after they finish eating. So every time they do it, oh, I thank you so much. I love when you help around. You are such a responsible child. I hug him. I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Or I want my children not to fight among themselves. And I see them playing nicely together. So I can come and I hug. I love you. Are the best kids in the world. You play so nicely. You are such good siblings. So that's actually an expression of love that is conditional, because I'm showing them I'm loving you because of your behavior. I'm loving you because you are acting in good ways. I'm loving you because you are not hitting. I'm loving you because you are helping. So that's amazing and it's important. But she warns us, be very careful. And we need to be very careful, because sometimes we're so obsessed on gaining cooperation, on getting our children to listen, that we can fall in behaviors that will show our children that we're happy with them and we love them only when they behave nicely. This can happen between parents and children. This happens most times between teachers and children. So she says you need to find a balance where your relationship, your positive relationship with your children has 50% of the time conditional love. It's because of the way you acted, I love you, but it has to have also 50% of the time unconditional love. Doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter how you act, doesn't matter if you behaved, if you helped, if you are nice, I love you no matter what. And I love you because of who you are, because you are the most special Moshe in the whole entire world. You are the most beautiful medium in the whole entire world, because you are like the sun, because you are, and we have to express that. And I love you because, and I pass next to my child and I hug him because, and I give him a gift because, and not only as a reward for the behavior. So I thought, it just came to my mind, and I thought it's a beautiful idea to bring it together with this Mishnah. Another beautiful love that we know that is unconditional is the love of, anybody? What other love we know that is unconditional?
Between people and Hashem.
Okay, and I would add even more, between Hashem and us. That Hashem gets upset at us when we don't behave. He punishes us. He exiled us. He destroyed the Beit HaMikdash. He will act upon it. But he committed to an unconditional love. We are his treasure, and he's going to protect us, and his relationship with us is always there, is never going to be broken. That's why we say that Hashem's relationship with us is like husband and wife that can be conditional, but is mainly like father to children. Avinu is our father, and parents will love their children always unconditionally, and no matter what. Okay, any comment or question? You can unmute yourself, and if not, I'm going to continue with the next Mishnah.
Sorry, Mrs. Bitton, I have a question.
Yes, I don't see you. Where are you?
It's Angela, sorry.
Yeah, I know it's you.
So
Okay.
you know how you said that we have to base our love based on character and not like physical and things that they have. So, but what if sometimes character traits change? So often you hear they say, oh, when I was dating him, he was so nice and kind and polite. Now that I married him, he's always angry and he's mean and he's... So how can you know what you have is actually real?
Wow, that's a very good question and a very difficult question. So it's kind of difficult to speak in general, because I suppose that there are different situations, but and yes, I also believe that life circumstances can affect our character. Like some people that were extremely sweet and kind, specific experiences made them bitter, or sometimes insecure, or sometimes, yes, it can happen. But I would say that most times that's not the case. Most times character is sustainable. Whoever is a kind, sweet person will always be a kind, sweet person, with the normal changes that come with different stages in life. We all change. We all get transformed by our experiences and by the things that we live in life. And it goes to both sides. It goes into growth, into becoming better people, wiser. Experience make us change. And I hope that we all live our life with this striving to change, to become better. And yes, circumstances mark the way we are. Now, ideally, we should all keep the good qualities and try to upgrade them and try to improve and to grow. Now, if sometimes it happened that it's very difficult to give an answer in 2 minutes. It's a relationship, it's a two ways. Sometimes a person becomes bitter because, imagine, let me just invent a case now. Somebody lost everything he had, lost his business, lost his house. So it makes you bitter, it makes you sad, yes. How can that change? So a lot of work, but one thing that for sure will make things easier is if you have next to you a person that treats you with a lot of compassion and is there unconditionally next to you and is showing you understanding and empathy. That's a 100% guarantee? No. Like, it's very difficult to give an answer. Like, how can I say that somebody after, God forbid, a car accident that his body got all, very invalid and cannot walk anymore and cannot do, is going to stay sweet and happy and this and that? No, there is no guarantee. Life is a permanent challenge. And I can never guarantee how the other person is going to act. The only thing I am in control is of myself. So that's why we say that we Jewish people need to be all the time studying Torah and studying the wisdom of Chachamim and trying to be impacted by them. There is not one answer to that. I don't know if I gave you any angle to this answer, Angela, but I really don't have an answer. I would say that this is not the norm. This can be exceptions. The norm is that whoever is kind is always kind. Whoever is bitter will always be bitter. Whoever is shy, more or less, that can be changed. Whoever is getting easily angry, unless he works very, very, very hard on his personality, will stay angry. So that's the norm. There are exceptions, yes, as with everything in life. You can also tell me, oh, I know people that studied Torah all their life and they are thieves and they are this. Yes, true. There are exceptions. Or I know people that they got all the love of the world and they still are sociopaths and they don't have the ability to love others. True. We have exceptions, but there is a norm. And the norm is that beauty, yes, a person can stay beauty, but age takes away some of the exciting things. A girl that had this perfect body is not going to have the same perfect body after having 6 children and having an aging and wrinkles and whatever. If this is what you care and only this is what you care, you are lost because it's not the same. Okay, Angela?
Yes, I listen. Beautiful answer. Thank you, Mrs. Bitton.
I'm sorry, that's what I can say about this. If somebody else has a comment or something to add, we're happy to listen. Okay, I'm sorry that we only have 10 more minutes left for the last Mishnah, but this next Mishnah, not the last Mishnah, the other Mishnah I'm going to show you, this Mishnah, כל מחלוקת שהיא לשם שמיים סופה להתקיים, every dispute that is for the sake of heaven will in the end endure, but one that is not for the sake of heaven will not endure. Which is the controversy that is for the sake of heaven? Such was the controversy of Hillel and Shammai. And which is the controversy that is not for the sake of heaven? Such was the controversy of Korach and all his congregation. Instead of controversy, I would translate it fights or discussions or difference of opinions. So Chachamim tell us whenever there is a dispute, there is a discussion, there is a fight in communication, if לשם שמיים, if it's for the sake of heaven, he will endure. What does it mean that endure? That it's it's something that will have good results. Now, what does it mean, לשם שמיים? The Mishnah is not very clear, but I found like 4 different explanations in the different perushim of Pirke Abot. So the first one that is from Bartenura, Rabbi Bartenura, he says that why the Mishnah defines the machloket, the discussion between these Chachamim, Hillel Shammai, as for the sake of heaven, because what characterized their discussions is that they actually had difference of opinions almost in every subject, like what is kosher, what to do, how to act, who can you marry, who can enter the Bet Midrash, how you define halacha. Whatever Hillel thought A, Shammai would think B. And the opposite. Whatever Shammai would say it's white, Hillel would say it's black. They always saw things with different eyes. But what is special about their machloket, their difference of opinions, is that they only had different of opinions, but it was not personal. They still got along. It did not affect the way they behaved towards each other. They would go and visit each other's homes. They would marry among themselves, their children, even if they had a total different view of anything. So that's one opinion. Why is L'Shem Shamayim? Because it's not personal. It's about the truth of the matter. It's not about us as people. The other opinion is that what was the purpose of their discussions? The purpose wasn't who is right, I want to be right. The purpose was to find out what is the truth. They really cared about the truth. They really cared about performing the halacha the proper way and not making mistakes. That's what they cared about. They wanted to find the real solution to their problems. And they did not look for kavod, for themselves. I want to be right, it's about me. The third perush, the third explanation that I found is that they were willing we find in the Mishnah of Eduyot, an example, they were willing to acknowledge if they made a mistake. So they would listen attentively to the other, and they would see what are the arguments of the other, because they cared about the truth. So if I see that the other's opinion made sense, I was willing to recognize and to accept and to say, oh, I was wrong. Your opinion is the right one. And the last explanation is a beautiful saying of Chachamim that they say, Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chaim. This and this are words alive from Elokim. Like, this is true and this is true. So it's very interesting because these four opinions actually together is what make that when people have a difference of argument, it shows that they care about the finding the truth and not about their personal interest. Is not, I don't get upset at you if you think different than me. I am respectful. I am willing to listen to your arguments, and I'm willing to acknowledge if I'm wrong, and I'm willing to accept. Also, a very important point to understand whenever we have a machloket is that I am not trying to be the winner, and that sometimes I can be right and you can also be right. It's okay. Sometimes it's about different views and about different circumstances of life. So this Mishnah, how is it similar to the previous Mishnah? That it's speaking about two situations that in the surface look like the same. Here, there is a fight, like Hillel and Shammai were always discussing, and we see here Korach and his congregation, they had a fight. So in the surface, it looks the same. Here there is a machloket, and here there is a machloket. But Chaim tell us, no, this is not the same. It's all about how is the machloket, how are you dealing with that difference of opinions. It's what is the source or what is the reason for you fighting? Is because you want to find the truth, or it's personal and it's wrong? Like Korach, we know that what he wanted is his kavod. He wanted his kavod. He did not care about the Torah, about finding the truth. He cared that Moshe Rabbeinu had a position and he wanted to have a higher position. So Korach did not care to involve other people and to make other people come together with him to fight. So I actually wanted to relate this Mishnah to the events that we are living today in America, with all these riots, that as much as we really feel bad for what happened, and we will never accept the violence that this policeman used and how he killed a person because of his racism and his violence, the way that the reactions are happening, we can absolutely see that it's not Leshem Shamayim. Because if you ask yourself, okay, you are protesting certain things that were not right. What is your goal? What do you want to achieve? What is that you are asking to happen? And I don't know if people have an answer, and the ways that they are doing it is not the right way, because by vandalizing and stealing and killing and being violent, they are not solving it. I was actually, and I recommend you, I'm just going to show you because we don't have the time, I recommend you to see, no, I don't have it in my screen, but try to find about Antifa, A-N-T-I-F-A, A-N-T-I-F-A. It's a militant activist movement, predominantly left wing, anti-fascist, political, that they prefer, they try to achieve their ideas to go through violence, because they know that by direct action, they are going to achieve more than by policy reform. So when you have certain ideas that you know that is very difficult to convey it to the public, and is not going to to achieve your goals, you go into violence. And that's what's happening here. So it's very interesting. I'm still figuring it out, but we can see that much of the violent riots that we are seeing have certain groups with certain agendas behind them, and it's not a machloket leshem shamayim. They are taking advantage of what happened and converting it into these terrible events that we are seeing. Just as a personal thought that I had, and I'm going out of the Mishnah and out of all what we're speaking, but the same way that we believe that one individual can really do so much good and can change the world to a better place, one individual can cause so much damage, so much harm. Look what this policeman created by his irresponsible, sadist actions, how he brought us all to this difficult moment that we are living. Anyways, I don't know if I was able to develop enough this last Mishnah, but it's good for us to take it into consideration whenever we are into discussions, different opinions with our relatives, husbands, friends, even when it's the ideological. Sometimes like in politics, I have this view, you have that view, and we are not even willing to listen. We are just focused on being right, and we are just trying to protect ourselves from the argument of the other. So before it's my turn to answer, when he's speaking, I'm just trying to see how I'm going to answer back. I'm not even trying to see, is this right? Is this wrong? Am I wrong? Perhaps I should try to change my point of view. So this is very important for us to understand. And one last point, the Mishnah says, Hillel v'Shamai. Hillel v'Shamai, they had a machloket leshem shamayim. The big rabbis, the big leaders usually have the ideology very clear. The problem mostly begins usually with the students, with those that follow them. We find that a lot in Israel. All these Shabbos rallies and behaviors where there is violence and usually is the students, is the youth, is those that don't have the real view of the real matters. So I'm going to stop here my class. I really feel sad to stop teaching Pirke Abot because to me it's so beautiful. I hope you enjoyed it as much as me. And okay, so Be'ezrat Hashem, we will meet whoever wants to join us on Thursday at the same time for Parashat HaShavua. And I hope for next week to have an exciting subject. Thank you so much for being here, for listening. And
Thank you.
Have a good week. See you on Thursday, whoever can make it.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Mrs. Bitton.
All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bitton. Thank you so much.
Always enjoy your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you all. Bye-bye.